Joe Biden, he finally went on his trip to Saudi Arabia. But before he gets to Saudi Arabia, right, he has a pit stop in Israel, also known as occupied Palestine. And I want to show you a couple of things, right? Just like the little tour that they gave him. This is a first video where people said that he got off the plane and he didn't know what he was doing. I'm going to play it to you and then I have something to say. Take a look. There's no audio apparently, which is great. Oh, there we go. Yeah, let me rewind that. What does he say here? What am I doing now? That's the controversial thing. Yeah, so I don't think that's fair. Let me explain this. I know a lot of people like to make fun of, he's forgetful, he's walking around like an idiot. No. That's a really good question, because at these sort of functions or receptions, like the guy literally got off a plane, they have bands, they have soldiers, they want to take photographs, you have to stand at a specific place. Of course you would ask, what am I doing now? I'd also be confused. Anyway, that's just one thing, but let's continue. They also awarded Biden, the Israelis awarded Biden with the Presidential Medal of Honor. That confused me at first, because I know the U.S., and in the U.S. military, the Medal of Honor is the highest decoration you can receive. Apparently, the Israelis have their own version of a Medal of Honor. So this is from AP.
Awarded to the Honorable President Joseph R. Biden Jr. of the United States of America for his true friendship with the State of Israel, the people of Israel, and the Jewish people. His uncompromising, decades-long commitment to Israel's security, his contributions to deepening, strengthening, and enhancing the strong and unwavering alliance between Israel and the United States of America, and his struggle against anti-Israeli and anti-Semitic hatred around the world.
Yeah, all right, I can translate that for you. He's basically saying, thank you, Biden, for being a good lapdog. We really appreciate all that money you gave us and all those things you did for us. Now, afterwards, Biden, he meets with the Palestinians, right? Right, those Palestinians, those pesky Palestinians in Palestine. How can we forget about them? So this is this is Joe Biden meeting with Abbas. Again, I'm not trying to pile on Abbas specifically here, but this is nothing more than a formality. There's no respect for the Palestinians, right? He comes onto their land, walking around with his Ray-Bans, and then just does whatever he wants and picks off and leaves. And I want to say something important, because there's a famous Palestinian journalist who was shot. She was murdered by the Israeli occupation forces. This is Shireen Abu Akleh, right? So that was already, what was that, May 17th when that happened? And she was also an American citizen, right? So unfortunately, I say this ironically, unfortunately, the U.S. government has to pretend to care, right? It's a huge, it's a huge thing to carry on your shoulders. Poor Biden, poor Blinken. They had to put up a front, and so, her family, Shireen Abu Akleh's family, they met with, I think it was Blinken, right? So this is, here, this is from 26th of July. And, family members of Shireen Abu Akleh have met U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken to renew their demands for justice for the Palestinian-American Al Jazeera journalist who was fatally shot by Israeli forces in May. Okay? And what do you think Biden did, right? Because Biden is going to meet with the Israelis who just killed one of his own citizens. One of his own citizens, right? Forget the fact that the Americans and the West are always whining on about, democracy and freedom of the press. I don't see it. It's not just a contradiction of values. That's his own citizen, right? Which he was elected to serve. Do you think he said a word to the Israelis? No, of course not. Didn't even bring her up. Nothing, not a word. Not a word. And her family, again, in Washington, right? Again, calling for justice, calling for an investigation, calling for the Biden administration, the DOJ, anyone, just to do something. They're not going to do a thing I'm sorry, but this was expected. I told you this would happen. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that. And way to insult yourself. No, I knew this would happen. And the other game that they played is the bullet, right? At first, the Israelis said, well, hey, the Palestinians won't give us the bullet. So, to examine it, to establish that we actually killed her. So clearly the Palestinians don't want to cooperate. And then the Palestinians gave it, they wanted to work with international teams, not the Israelis, right? Because the Israelis are the ones that have all the incentive to hide this. And in the end, what do the Israelis come to? What conclusion? They said, the bullet's too damaged to come to a reasonable, to a solid conclusion. At first, the Israelis, they tried to blame the Palestinians. They said, the Palestinians killed Shireen. And then they said, we don't know, actually. We're not sure. And then they said to the Palestinians, give us the bullet so we can do an examination. And the Palestinians said, no, you're the ones who killed her. We want an international team to do it, right? Independent. And then finally, the State Department, they look at the bullet and say, sorry. The bullet is too damaged to reach a definitive conclusion as to who killed this renowned Palestinian American journalist. We don't know, right? They do say, though, gunfire came from Israeli positions and that was likely responsible for the death of Shireen Abu Akleh. I mean, my goodness, could you be any more vague? Could you be any more passive about it? And they say, the U.S. found no reason to believe that it was intentional, right? Well, I'm sorry, man. The 5-6 journalists who are being shot at, they found it pretty intentional. And, all the human rights organizations, the UN, all these NGOs that are supposed to mean something, all said this bullet, this gunfire clearly came from Israeli positions. No one else was there. These reporters are doing their job. Israel killed Shireen, and the United States government is doing nothing about one of their own citizens. Biden wouldn't dare open his mouth. He's too busy going around saying, I'm a Zionist. The other people in the team were also shot at. She wasn't alone. There's several of them. There's 5-6 of them. They were all being shot at. Everyone in the world is looking at this and saying Israel did it. All the human rights organizations that are supposed to carry weight, the UN, everyone is looking at this and saying Israel is guilty. Israel fired the shot. No one else at that time in this location could have possibly done that other than Israel. And of course, nothing happens. Biden is just chilling, shaking hands with Bibi and and Naftali, right? It's a big club, man, and we ain't in it. That's how it goes. And I just wanted to highlight how disgusting that is, that he went to a country that murdered one of his citizens, and he doesn't even have the stones to bring it up. Not a word. Not a word. It's very, very nasty.